Hello, welcome to the Sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Standard Open in Indianapolis, brought to you by Ultimate Guard. I'm Nick Miller alongside Ryan Hovis. Now the people have clamored for the deck tech on green-black graveyard, as we're calling it.
Yep, yeah, it is definitely a graveyard-centric deck, and it's very, I call it green-black aggro myself because it is one of the most aggressive decks in the format in terms of actually finishing the game out.
Right, it's disguised, it's this aggressive deck, but it's kind of disguised as this, prized amalgam, sort of dredge, sort of, graveyard-centric deck, but you're just kind of beating down.
Yeah, you're, in the first few turns of the game, people are kind of confused because you're not attacking very much, you're not doing much damage. Also, on turn 5, they're dead. And they're like, where did everything go wrong? And, it's pretty much there's like a base set of 34 cards in this deck that I wouldn't touch, and they all kind of work together. It's definitely like everything comes together type of deck.
Sum is better than its parts.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Now, we've seen a lot of these cards in previous standards. So we've seen Prize Amalgam with Haunted Dead, that kind of stuff, Grapple along with the Vessel and Noose Constrictor. But you've got some new ones here as well. We've got, the Scrap Heat Scrounger, and then we have this Timepiece, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But you also have gone so deep as to run Ghoulsteed in here.
Sometimes your zombies gotta get really big. So that's, in reality, Ghoulsteed is in the deck. Haunted Dead is obviously the best card that you want to play for it, but Ghoulsteed is going to be Haunted Dead's number 5 through 7. And you could run 2 of them, you can run 4 of them. It all depends on just exactly how aggressive you want to be. But it is, I definitely wouldn't take it out. It is definitely one of the best cards in the deck. These enablers right here are the best cards in the deck. And then you mentioned Scrounger too. Scrounger is the most impressive card that I've seen so far from Kaladesh. It just has so much staying power. It enables Prize Amalgam. It makes Ghoulsteed and Haunted Dead like you're only actually discarding 1 card, so it's just like a normal card you're playing with because that card's going to come back eventually.
Yeah, that's the scary part. And we've seen, the Scrounger in a lot of these red-black aggro decks as well, and even some, other black X aggro decks, just because the value you're going to get bringing it back later, you, of course, get the bonus of bringing back other cards with it.
Yes. And that's one of the strong parts about the deck. When you're playing against Black-White Control, Black-Green Delirium, playing against Emrakul decks with Kozilek's Returns, these cards all work together, where if they sweep your board, they kill all your stuff. Everything's coming back. You're being aggressive. A lot of the sweepers are going to be at kind of like sorcery speed because they're trying to sorcery speed, and even on your turn, it kind of feels like sorcery speed because they're killing the stuff, but then you can bring it back anytime you want. So it's a very powerful shell. Right. Having a bunch of creatures dying and then just bringing back the Scrounger and then triggering the Amalgam seems just like nice sweeper. Yeah. This card right here was when this card got spoiled on September 14th, I believe. I was talking about it. I was like, man, in August, one of my friends actually played this at the Invitational. I think he went 6-2 with it, and it had 1 Despoiler Souls in the deck. And I was like, man, if they only made this card where it got rid of 1 or a creature instead of 2, and they printed it, I was like, well, I would have been fine with black. I wasn't being greedy, but they looked at Despoiler Souls and went, we can do better. Yeah. So, not bad. Oh, yeah. Now, of course, you mentioned Gnarlwood Dryad here is even bigger piece of this deck than you expect. On the surface, you look at this card, you see it in the Delirium shells, but you're just using it as another, It's Wild Nikado. Yeah. So many times with this card, you're casting the Grapple with the past, and it turns it on. And this deck, like I said, is an aggressive deck first and foremost. So when you're attacking for 3 on turn 2 and throughout the whole game, it deals a lot of damage. It deals a lot of damage, and with the Decimator of Provinces, they're trying to kill some of your creatures. You only have 2-3 creatures out. You can only deal 17, 18 points of damage if people are actually disrupting you. With this card, it allows you to get them down to 10, 12, 14 in the life total where Decimator is actually going to KO you. Also very important with this card that a lot of people don't realize, with Decimator of Provinces, Trample and Death Touch is a combo. Yeah, you deal 1. It's a combo deck, basically. Deal 1, trample over for all the rest. Exactly, and they try to block with oh man, block with 2 creatures, you're 1/1/3. And it's definitely hard to do combat math with this deck when you're thinking of Decimator Provinces. So. Right, that's another card, we saw this get a little bit of play, in the Cryptolith Rites deck, they tried it out, but we didn't really see it break through like the other Emerge cards. We saw Distended Mindbender, we saw the Deep Fiend, but this deck just looks like a perfect house for this card. And it is too. The biggest thing when people look at this deck, I've sent it to a few of my friends, the first thing they did is they took out Decimator Provinces for Distended Mindbender. I'm just I don't even know, it's just Wow, you have a great draft deck. Like, that's a sweet draft deck you have there. Decimator Provinces, what it does is, with these 2 cards, it allows you to be aggressive early or hold off aggressive creatures. And then, unlike the other aggressive decks in the format, where they kind of scale down as the game goes up, this deck scales up. So you're starting off very aggressive, and then you're just becoming more and more of a potent threat after that, because Decimator Provinces can just KO people. So that's where we're going. The big weakness I've seen with the deck is when they have really, really cheap interaction with really, really cheap threats. So you're talking like the red-white aggro deck, and then like the red-black aggro deck. But we do have ways in the sideboard to help try and fix that.
Right,
so.
and then unlike other aggro decks, you don't run out of gas when your creatures die. So as long as the game continues going, you're going to just have more fodder.
To give you an example, I won a 28-minute game 1 against Black-White Control, where he cast 3 Sorens, an Ob Nixilis, a Gideon, a Liliana. Oh, I lied. 2 Sorens, 3 Linvalas, and all 3 Linvalas were double triggered. But the problem though is he played a Gusella on turn 4, which is actually, I hit him with 3 pigs, so it was a triple pig game. So you kind of, but a 28-minute game 1 against a control deck, and I not only outcarded him, but I killed him in the end.
Right.
And the whole time, it wasn't like the game was close. It was basically like Gisela, Linvala, and he gained something, I think he said like 46 life he gained throughout the game, and he's just trying to barely hang on every single time.
Not enough when the barbecue's going on.
No, he's just coming for all you country folk to have. I don't even know what's calling for, but that pig is, he's hot.
You're right. All right, let's take a look at the sideboard here. We mentioned most of the main deck. Also notable, you're 8-1 after day 1.
Yeah.
So, the deck is performing.
Yeah, the deck is doing well. I lost against Hooglin on camera, and for you players that are much better than me out there, I'm sure I should have won that match. I apologize for not winning that match. But the deck is not easy. When I first gave it to my friends, I'm like, yeah, you put things in play and you attack and they're dead. It's great. And then as the day goes on, I'm like, I'm sorry for giving you this deck. I'm not quite sure how to play it, but it's doing good.
All right. So we have this kind of delirium sideboard strategy where you see like these green blacks go. Talk about all the pieces. You got Liliana, you have Ishkanah, and you have the Distended Mindbender yourself.
Yep. So the biggest thing you got to remember about this deck is it is a 34 card package for the most part, so you don't have very much room to sideboard on it. And the biggest thing is you want to take this out of the deck. It's very bad. So we're going to put that over there now.
Take the timepiece out.
And what you want to do is in the main deck, you want to have 3 Collective Brutalities and 1 more Swamp. 23rd land, as long as you hit your land drops, you're winning the game. And then the Collective Brutality is just a very good card. It enables your discard outlets, so you can discard the Haunted Dead and the Goldstein. So moving this in from the sideboard is somewhere where you'd want to be.
Right.
But it is in the sideboard for this weekend, and where that's going to help out is against all the aggressive decks, the red-black and the red-white aggressive deck. You get the sideboard in up to 4 Collective Brutalities, and you get to hit their Declaration in stones, you get to hit their Distended, or the Disintegration card.
Unlicensed Disintegration.
Yeah, unlicensed Disintegration. You get to hit those cards, and you get to kill their creature right off the bat. So that's very impressive for that. The next card I want to talk about, because it's super simple, is called the Bloodline. Against these aggressive decks, they all have X1s, or you're trying to buy time. This is really good there. Also, this card is really good against decks with Declaration in stone. When they're trying to nail your Prize and Amalgams and Scrap Heap Scroungers, this card allows you to actually get more creatures onto the battlefield, so then you can pig them. And that's, the whole goal is to pig them there. And
we
then
got To the Slaughter, and of course, this is a draft all-star, Sinister Concoction.
It is a constructed all-star too.
I saw it doing some work.
So it actually fits into the whole thing where it mills your deck and you get to discard. It's great there. The other thing is it hits Avacyn when it comes into play. So it comes into play, trigger on the deck, you get to nuke the Avacyn. It's really good there. But why it's really in the deck is you get to kill Kalitas with it, which is an obvious issue with this deck.
Right. Enemy number 1 for this deck.
Yeah, your creatures are dying and you need them to come back. Kalitas is the big problem. So we do have the Sinister Concoctions on there, and that's a card that I move up into the sideboard once the Collective Brutalities move out of the sideboard. But it is a great card. It's good against the aggro decks. It's good against, I bring it against the aggro decks to kill Smugglers, Copter, along with all the haste creatures. Tons of haste creatures in this format, and also hits the big guys too. I've killed the 8/8 green Gearhulk. Hulk, I've killed Ishkanas, I've killed Avacens. It's just all around, it just does what you want it to do, and the drawback actually isn't that much of a drawback. And then To the Slaughter is against other Liliana decks, you really want it there. It nukes the Planeswalkers, and also can kill like the Cletuses and kill some of the other big creatures. It's probably the card I least brought in. Ishkana and that are probably the cards I least brought in, but it's definitely, it hits the cards you want to hit.
It has its spot and its moments.
Yes. Then moving on, we have Liliana the Veil, or Liliana the Last Hope. I wish it was Liliana the Veil. Liliana the Last Hope. This card is also coming in against these small aggressive decks that have X1s, because kind of the point of the sideboard with the Collective Brutality and the Liliana and the Sinister Concoction is these cards are doing two things. They're powering up your game plan, they're discarding cards, they're milling cards, but they're also killing their things. So your deck is doing a twofold thing for one card, and that's what you want in the sideboard, right?
Right.
So you have Liliana there. Also on the play, I've been bringing in Liliana against other black decks because it's a Liliana war, right? So you have a bunch of blockers, and you can ultimate first. It's pretty good there.
Yeah. Seems like a recipe for success.
Oh yeah, and then the last two cards here are Descended Mindbender and Ishkanah. Ishkanah is basically for the mono white aggro deck. Griff's Boon is very difficult to deal with, to say the least. Ishkanah buys you a lot of time there, and then also against the Avacen decks, it's a 3/5. Avacen is, Avacen's a 4/4. It's obviously a perfect fit there. And then Descended Mindbender, the biggest thing that you want to do here is your deck is a pig deck. So for you to take out pigs, you got to have a very good reason. Hooglin had Summary Dismissal, plus his deck is really bad at dealing with the creatures that are coming back all the time. Descended Mindbender is good there, where the pigs are not going to be as good, because you're not always going to have all the creatures out there. You're going to have one or two creatures beating them down. So that's when the pig is going to be bad. Then you can also always do like a 2-2 split after board. You don't have to board the 3 Mindbenders in for the 3 provinces.
Sure.
You can split it 2 and 2, which I did against all of the black-white decks, and I did against like the Emrakul decks too, because you do want to hit that, but you also want to try and kill them too. So you kind of like split it up there.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Looks like you got all your bases covered here this weekend. You're 8-1. The deck is just firing on all cylinders. Even in the match you lost, the deck was looking very good. So, I don't think anyone complained. You take out the timepieces, put in the Collective Brutalities, and I think you got yourself the right deck.
Oh yeah, and it's definitely one of the nice things about it is very consistent. Just like any deck where it revolves around like 8 cards, like these 2 cards. There are times where you're just going to kind of like not do anything, where you don't hit any of those important spells. But for the most part, I found to be an extremely consistent deck, because you don't need those cards. You can hard cast Haunted Deads and pick them that way if they are a slower deck. So it's one of the things I've been working on this deck since the Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. I've been working on it since then, so it's been a long time coming. And I haven't actually got to play a standard tournament until now. So I was super excited to come here, super excited to show it off. I was just hoping that it did as well as I thought it would do.
All right, well, I think it is, and the pig is definitely doing what it needs to do. So.
Oh yeah, he's a pig with haste is a pig you need to be afraid of.
All right, well, you heard it here, Ryan. You're 8-1. The deck looks great. Thanks for joining here in the sideboard. Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all weekend long for the action here in Indy.